Thank you for trusting me. I will leave you to your thoughts. But if you'll permit me another time, I would like to learn more about your meditative technique.
May I ask why?
You weigh questions of politics. I weigh questions of place, purpose. With such uncertainty as we are all experiencing, I am finding it much more challenging than I had anticipated.
Place your hands out. Palms up. It is called Thresh Tor, Kasha. It means shared mind. A type of meditation we teach our children while they are learning. Close your eyes. Your eyes are meant to remain closed, Captain Saru. Take a deep breath.
Welcome to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. I am one of your hosts, Johnson, and with me is Mike, my co-host. Hey, Mike, how's it going today? How are you?
Hey, Johnson, happy Wednesday night. We are halfway through this week, thank goodness.
We're old and tired.
We are today.
It's like basically the gist every day. It's like, how are you? I'm tired. How are you? I'm tired. It's like, It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, everything's been exhausting lately, right? It just seems to take more.
Well, you also now have a dog, so it's kind of like that adds another layer of responsibility to your day.
It does.
It's like time that you could have had just relaxing. Now you need to like take the dog out. Now you need to clean up after the dog, feed the dog, play with the dog.
Yeah, and I love Hamish to death, but yes, it is exhausting. But today, today was good because I got to sleep in a little bit more because Dennis was home, so he took Hamish out for a number of his walks. And I could actually go and walk and get a coffee and walk and just relax and I'm actually reading the autobiography of Catherine Janeway right now.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually really good. It's narrated by Kate Mulgrew. So it's
okay.
Really,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really good. So it's the audiobook from Audible. So it was on a sale for members. So I think I got it for like $5.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
So that's enjoyable. It's actually really good, and it's nice to hear her narrate it too.
That's awesome.
Even at 1.5 speed, her voice still sounds the same. So
1.5, goodness.
Yeah. So it was nice to just be outside and walk. It was sort of a warmer day today, but it was sort of cloudy too. So
I haven't been outside since Sunday. No idea. No idea. I mean, it looked sunny yesterday. It looked sunny today, but
yesterday was sunny. Today was like sunny for a while, and then it got cloudy. But yes. So yeah. So yes, it is exhausting raising a puppy. He is a lot of work, and he's obviously recovering from a number of
ailments,
eye, ear, and stomach. So
oh my
God. So that has been exhausting as well. So expensive, yes. Yes, it was expensive. But it was also I took him to the vet for all of that. Plus, he got his pre-ops done for his neutering, yay.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got his monthly medication. So it was sort of...
What is he getting medication for?
Oh, you get like flea and tick and something else.
Oh, that.
Yeah. So there's two. there's 2 medications that we give him every month, except now he goes through a quarterly one on one of them because he's bigger, so older.
Okay.
But it was definitely expensive. It was $1,000 just for one visit.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was, he's getting better, thankfully. But yes, it's all very exhausting. And the holidays are coming up, and yeah, and work is busy. So it's just, but I do have some time off after around Christmas, so that's good.
But you guys are you guys going anywhere? Me?
No, no, we're staying here for Christmas together, and then he has to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I have off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'm going up to Massachusetts.
Oh, yes. And you're taking the dog.
I'm taking the dog, yeah. So,
oh my God. Hope he doesn't poop and vomit in the car this time.
Right. Yeah. Well, I have learned about children's Dramamine, so that's what we're going to try on this trip. Another dog owner who has a similar breed and travels a lot with their dog said when they were younger, their vet said to give them children's Dramamine. So yeah. So I'm gonna try that. I mean, he's gonna have to be in the back seat by himself, so that'll be interesting. So yeah. So, but yes, it's yeah. So I'm gonna go away for a couple of days.
So basically, life is exhausting and expensive.
Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm just, and we're hosting a New Year's Eve party apparently.
Oh my God. So I had dinner with Dennis, and you guys had mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, how did that come about? And then he was like, you put it on our calendars. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I looked at my Google Cal, and I was like, you're right. And this is when, we were hanging out and we had too much fun.
Yes,
and I put this on our calendars, and I totally forgot about it. So, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm the organizer of this event. So
yes, you are. So you're hosting a New Year's Eve party.
So I was like, okay, then. And
I can't believe I didn't veto that as the more sober member of the crew that night. But
wow.
Anyway, so yeah, so I have to come back and host a New Year's Eve party, and I have to work. I have to work one day that week. So
okay.
Which is get stuff out for Sunday, and then just check in with email, which it should be pretty light. So yeah, but I still have to work, put in my hours. So I guess I could take a vacation day. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, most everybody's going to be gone, so it doesn't.
Right. Hopefully it'll be light.
Yeah. So yeah, one of my bosses is away definitely, and yeah. So that's the rundown. So we'll record next week, and then we're gonna take a week off between Christmas and New Year's.
Yes, we'll be taking a week off just to give ourselves a break. And then we'll be covering 2 episodes come the first week of January.
Yeah, and
right around the corner.
Yeah, and that'll be like halfway through the season.
That's true. That's right.
Because we're gonna discuss tonight All Is Possible, episode 4, and tomorrow episode 5 drops. So yeah.
Cool. Well, should we get into this week's episode then? All Is Possible.
Let's do it.
You want to go back, don't you?
I do. Why?
Because getting my lieutenant pips was the worst day of my life. I never could figure out how my mother became a diplomat. She was such a hard ass at home. No compromise. She had everything planned out. She had my whole life planned out. So when I told her that I wanted to join Starfleet instead of the diplomatic corps, so I always thought that I was doing this for me. But then when I got the pips, all of a sudden I realized, like, my mom is 900 years in the past. She's never gonna see me wear them. And I started wondering if this is what I really wanted, or if I just really wanted to be seen. You know, and that was humbling. But I think it could be a useful perspective for a teacher.
Well, I'll miss seeing your face every day.
All right. So, yeah, Mike, want to know, curious minds want to know, what did you think of this episode overall? What were your thoughts? I want to hear your thoughts. I have all the questions. I have thoughts too, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I mean, I enjoyed this episode. I thought, I think my first takeaway, I think the first thing I said to you was that I thought Michael was written really well this episode. So I enjoyed that. I also enjoy costume wise. I mean, I think it's Gersha Phillips, right? As the costume designer. I love their dress uniforms. That purple, I'm assuming it's purple. I think it's purple, purple-ish, plum in that range, is just a really nice uniform.
Oh man, I didn't even really notice the dress uniforms.
Yep.
For some reason.
Yeah, that's what her and Saru are in for that entire episode, pretty much. Maybe not at the beginning, I can't, or the end. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that storyline. I enjoyed the, when Michael speaks up in the council chamber and like gets involved when she was explicitly told not to. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. Shit's gonna go off the rails. And
right.
But it didn't. And it was really I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, oh, are they gonna just, is this another setup for more tension between her and the press? Yeah.
But fortunately it wasn't, and I was very thankful for that. I was very glad that it wasn't just another instigating moment, because I mean, my feeling is that they've inserted a couple of those in the past few episodes. So I was anticipating that was going to happen again this episode, but it didn't. So I was like, wow, it's actually like a constructive moment and they're actually working together. Amazing,
Yeah, I thought, that's why I say she was written really well, because she was professional. She was calm. She was very captain-like in this episode, and I thought that was really really good. And so there's that storyline, which is and again we get to see Saru and T'Rina, is that her name? President T'Rina spend some time together, which is nice. A budding little romance going on there, which we've seen through season 3 and into.
Yeah, no, this is great. Wait, have we seen this before?
Well, I mean,
I don't recall them really interacting much.
Yeah, I mean, he was the captain in season 3, and so he and her at the end of that season
they had a conversation when the Navarre episode. They had one conversation.
No, they had that conversation, but at the end of the season as well. Oh no, maybe that was when they said, I would like to spend more time with you or get to know you more, keep in touch or whatever. And I remember thinking back then that there was some chemistry going on there.
I saw yes, I remember the scene you're talking about, because I thought I liked that conversation that they had in that Navarre episode, the name of the episode escapes me.
Reunification part 3.
Yes. Oh my, I was like, it's so obvious. Yes, reunification 3.
Yes.
But Yes, that was a very good scene.
Or Unification 3, I forget anybody.
Unification 3.
3. Yeah.
Unification, sorry.
Unification, yeah.
Apologies to all listeners. But
yeah,
yes,
so there's
I
just
didn't get any sort of like, oh, like they're just respectful peers.
No, I got vibes off that. There was definitely some love interest or some deeper interest there between the two of them, and I'm glad to see that they brought that back this season, which we've seen a little bit of, and now in this episode we see it even more when she sends him some tea at the ceremony, and then he goes and sees her and talks, and
they meditate together.
At the end. So yeah, it was
and
nice
she asked him for tea afterwards. After everything's said and done, they're like, "Can you join for tea?"
Yeah,
and he was like, "Yeah,
yeah." So
and I was like, "Yeah,
I was," So yeah, so there's that storyline, which I think was really well done and interesting, and we got the answer to what is happening to the person Davini, or who was it that killed the Starfleet officer that they went after last episode?
I don't remember at this point. That was so last week.
But anyway, they got a little bit of an update of that.
Our hotly debated subject last week as to whether or not the Kuat Malat, I don't know what her name is, we can look it up, if she would face justice on Navarre.
Right.
I never doubted that she would face Navarre justice. I mean, and honestly, her sentencing made a lot of sense. I thought it was appropriate for the crime. And I thought that, yeah, I mean, I could not see President T'Rina just be like, she's going to go scot-free, bitch. You know, it's Navarre justice. So I had full confidence.
Well, there you go. So not to read.
What is her name? Oh my god! Now I'm like scrolling through this recap on Memory Alpha.
Like Davini.
There's so many words. So many words.
Anyway, so that's wrapped up, and
Javini. There we go.
So that's wrapped up. Yeah, it's a great way to bring Navarre into the Federation, which I thought was really great, and so that's exciting. That's progress. Another world brought it back into the Federation. And then on the other flip side, we have our favorite lieutenant, Tilly, taking some Starfleet cadets and Adira on a scientific mission.
Away mission,
yeah. And so we get to see her shine in a new and different way, but also you get to, I think that this part of the story really shows the state of the Federation, or the state of Starfleet, but also the Federation really, and how people have lacked trust in one another and teamwork, and everyone's sort of been on their own,
like more just isolationists.
Yeah. So, and how that's impacting cadets at Starfleet Academy. I mean, it's very clear that that's translating to the youth of this generation, and how they're interacting as officers or as cadets in Starfleet Academy. So I think that that was really fascinating to see. It gives us a greater context of the universe as it is in the 32nd century, and you can even see how Adira is impacted by that as well, growing up on a generation ship, and not have it, how they're not, they don't have that teamwork, that ability to work with others. They sort of, they have been, brilliant and young and hiding in the Earth Defense Force, right? Or not hiding, but working in the Earth Defense Force. And so we see how it affects them as well. And, and Tilly has got a lot of experience, right? In 3 years, in the 3 years she's been on Discovery, she's experienced a lot. And
well, Adira is also, particularly when compared to Gray's like, I want to meet everyone.
Yes.
because I think they had that conversation where I don't remember the exact what they exactly said, but I think was it Gray was going to go to the bar or something.
Yeah, he was going to go to some social function.
Or do some social function. And then Adira was kind of like, oh, what were they like, oh, you're not going to know anyone there or something? It was something like that. And Gray's like, whatever, I'm just going to say hi to people, you know? I think they're just very different.
Yes.
Which I like. Gray is very much an extrovert and Adira is very much an introvert. Obviously, they got to know each other. I wouldn't be surprised if Gray was the one that reached out to Adira versus the other way around, you know, when they initially met. But I thought that was interesting. And this also, that was one of the things that I think Adira really took away from this away mission, which was, hey, talk to people, get to know other people, rely on other people, and you'll come out better for it. So I really like that.
I do too. And interestingly enough, I just put this together and I should have thought of this, but this is also very much an example of how our society has become over the last couple of years with COVID. And, you know, we've all become sort of isolationists in some ways. And
have we? I mean, we've been pretty social. We saw each other consistently over COVID.
Yeah. But I mean, we were, you know, it was just us. It was just the 4 or 5 of us. It wasn't.
Oh, I saw other people.
Oh, yes. You're nothing.
Speak for yourself.
Nothing stops but for the most part, I mean, for most people, you know, I mean, you didn't go out a lot. I mean, we were in lockdown for months and months and months when all this started. So, you were isolated as well.
A little bit. I don't remember that period, like when we first started getting lockdown. I don't remember that very well. I mean, I did fine. Yeah, I did fine.
Yes, you did. Yeah. But for a lot of people, it does become a place where you get isolationist, and isolated. Okay, fine. Yeah.
English.
English. I'm tired tonight, obviously.
I'm tired too, bitch. Whatever.
Anyway, I just think it's a great representation of how our society or parts of our society has become that way because of the last couple of years as well. So, yeah. So they learned some valuable lessons about becoming more, putting themselves out there more and saying hi to people. And they do say at the end, right, that they had some new friends. They considered these cadets new friends. And so that was really great to see as well. And then we see Tilly spread her wings and accept a teaching position at Starfleet Academy, which
offered to her by David Cronenberg.
Yes. Which, do we even know what is his name on the show? David Cronenberg?
Kovic?
Oh, Kovic. Yes, that's right. So
he's just kind of there. I'm like, all right.
Yes. He's a very strange individual. I mean, in reality,
I just don't really know why he was there. I don't really know his function. Like, I don't know his kind of like, you know, he interrogated Giorgio.
Right.
He worked with Culber when trying to figure out if there would be a cure for Giorgio. It was like, you know, just like, I feel he's like a filler person for very random situations. Like, I don't know. You know, I don't quite know what his function is.
I mean, he's interesting. I think that it's a interesting dynamic he brings, and it's a little bit of an alien.
I'm gonna look up his bio on Memory Alpha. I'm sure he introduced himself.
Sure. So she goes off.
It just says he is a Human Federation official. Okay.
All right. So it's I don't think so it's never really been defined what or who he is per se, or what he does. He sort of does everything, but he's obviously involved with Starfleet Academy. So there is that. And
you would think that whoever is actually the president of Starfleet Academy or the principal of Starfleet Academy or whatever would be the one kind of there overseeing. But sure, I'll take David Cronenberg.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, there's this sad but also very nice goodbye for Tilly, and her montage of hugs was very touching at the end. And I wish the bridge crew had been part of that as well.
The montage.
Yeah, well, I think
Sure.
that, I think even doing a scene on the bridge and saying, I've decided to take a position there would have been a nice scene for them.
Yeah, I really did like the conversation between her and Michael, though. I thought that was very touching. And
yeah, absolutely.
it very much reflected on her journey on Discovery. Like, I really appreciated that conversation. She was able to kind of reflect on her whole time. That was great. So
yeah, and it goes back to the conversation she had with Gabrielle last episode. So there's that piece that sort of carried through as well. So
right.
It's nice to see that her journey continuing, and from all indications she'll be back at some point. We just don't know how, or I think
right. there are rumors, like people are like, oh, is this the springboard? Is this a springboard for the Starfleet Academy series? Things like that.
Oh yeah, maybe.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
it won't be the same though. At least the Discovery won't be the same without Tilly on it.
I agree. Adira is similar in characteristics with Tilly, or early Tilly,
right?
Season
like
one,
smart,
Tilly.
Awkward.
Yeah, but they don't really replace Tilly, and so
no, there's something very special about Tilly. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
that really made me resonate with that character. I don't know if it's because I relate to her or what it is, but she's just so down to earth. Like, she's smart, but she's just down to earth and relatable and humble. I don't know. There's something about Tilly that I think is just great.
I think there's a number of things, and I'm excited to see where her character goes next and what happens with her. But there is indication she'll be back later in the season, so that's good.
Well, I think she said in interviews she's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
but
so
we'll see.
Yeah, so and I didn't even think about the shoot off for the Starfleet Academy series, but that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's obviously just a rumor, but
right
until something happens, it's
and I thought that the cadets that were on the mission as well were diverse and interesting. One from, I think, Jupiter or Titan, one who had never really seen an alien before. Mm-hmm. We have an Orion who, is having prejudice against them because of the I want to say the Orion Syndicate, but that's not what it was.
Well, the Emerald Chain.
The Emerald Chain. And then we have what looks to be a Nausicaan, right?
I wasn't sure if this was a Nausicaan or Tellarite. I was just like, I initially thought Nausicaan, but I feel like the Nausicans we got in like TNG were like uglier, so I'm not sure. But makeup has also changed, so who the fuck knows? Like,
right.
The Klingons don't look like Klingons.
I like the idea that he's a Nausicaan, but
cool. Yeah, sure.
Because we do have a Tellarite in Prodigy, so I think it would be
but the animated Tellarites and then the real life makeup, who the hell knows? Who knows?
Yeah. So I thought that those were some interesting characters, and throw Adira into the mix, and Tilly and her upbeat, always positive attitude, and
she's positive, but she was also like screaming at them. So which I think is very on character for Tilly. It's on brand.
Yeah, on brand. That's what I was looking for. So 2 stories. We didn't see a lot of movement in the dark matter anomaly.
No, but I think this coming week's episode, I think that's going to be the focus. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't think every week needs to be dedicated to this, like, this phenomenon that we're tracking all season. It's
right.
fine.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that would be too much, and like we said before, this faceless, nameless enemy that is a scientific anomaly doesn't really give it the same oomph. Like, there's nothing for the characters to play off from.
Right.
So
other than
yeah.
like tragedy.
Right. Yes. So, oh wait, we do. Oh, and my gosh, we saw therapy with Dr. Culber, Book and Dr. Culber.
I
Totally
totally
forgot
about
about
that
that.
too.
Totally forgot about that. So that was very interesting as well. And Book and Culber get to spend some time together. And I know off screen, Wilson Cruz has said a number of very positive things about David Ajala. So I think that those scenes were some good therapy, making therapy accessible, making it meaningful. I don't know. I have to go back and watch it again, but I enjoyed those pieces as well. I thought that it was also good that we sort of saw some resolution last week with Book, and and it's good to see that it was just temporary. It wasn't a permanent fix, and that grief is ongoing and guilt is ongoing, which is true. It is
true. It's realistic.
Yeah. So, but it seemed like it was almost too tied up and resolved last week, and I'm glad that we've got this piece back this week as far as that goes. So
yeah, I mean, last week it was just kind of he found catharsis by realizing that Tito, his nephew, is Tito.
It's not Tito. No.
Whatever, his nephew, the awkward one.
Tito is vodka. Tito's.
I know that. I don't remember his nephew's name. But
this episode brought to you by Tito's alcohol.
But realizing that Tito knew that Book loved him, so he was able to kind of get over that hump. But in this episode, we see that he still needs to kind of grieve and mourn, right?
Yes,
of everything that he's lost. So because at first it was like guilt, and then it was like realizing that, I guess realizing that wasn't his fault, but then also realizing that nephew knew he loved him, and now it's kind of like it's no longer guilt or not being sure if his nephew loved him, but now it's kind of just it's just going through the motions of understanding loss, right? So
it's Lido, not Tito.
Oh yes, Lido. See, I was close. You're making it sound like I'm crazy.
Lido and Tito are two different things.
I was off by one letter. I was like distracted. I was like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I was looking up this. I was going to Memory Alpha and I looked up Booker's nephew. And Lido is at the top, Quajan.
Yes.
Yes. He was Kahim's son and Cleveland Booker's nephew.
Deceased,
sadly. So
I totally forgot about that storyline. That's like the C- storyline, the therapy sessions. But
yeah, I mean, there's so much going on in this episode, and
there's a lot happening.
We have some very complex plots going on here this season, even more complex this season than last. I think this is more I don't know, complex is the best word I can think of. Like normally we would have an A and B plot, right? And now this is 2 episodes in a row where we've had an A, B, and C plot, even though the C plot in this one is a little bit less critical or crucial, but still important part of the story. So yeah, any other thoughts on this episode?
Yes.
Anything?
Yes, I have many thoughts.
Oh, well, please do share.
Yeah. So I didn't want to. I wanted you to kind of get your thoughts out before like interjecting with my thoughts. So I agree. I really like the whole Navarre, all that drama. I really liked how President T'Rina and then President Rillick, like both. You saw the scenes where they both gave like Michael and Saru respectively like a look, like it was just like, and it was like kind of the unsaid, like we can't do anything about it, right? I like that. It was one of those moments when I'm usually like, sometimes when I'm watching these episodes, I'm also like on my phone or whatever. I'll be honest, but it's one of those episodes where I actually like was looking at the screen And I was like, oh, like, yes, I see the look, because I think we get the moment between President Rillick and Michael first. And then the way that President Rillick was like, we can't do anything about it. And the way that she was very purposeful in how she said it, I was like, all right, something's off here. And then she was like, see you later. Like, I'm going back to the ship or whatever. And just left her there, left Michael there. I was like, all right, yes, like something's going on. So I liked some of those moments. And yes, I love the moments between Saru and T'Rina. I really like the scene where Saru comes into her quarters and, he's like, teach me how to meditate. I'm like, yeah, bitch, teach him to meditate. I'm like, yes. And they're like holding hands. I'm like, yes, that's great. I just love, they're both very like serene people. And I don't know what their age difference is, and Vulcans live till like 200 something, so it's hard to tell like how old T'Rina is. But Saru, I don't know how old Saru is either technically, but it's just that they both kind of have this wisdom to them and this maturity to them. I'm like, they're a great match. It was nice to see that, and it was going to be awesome. Okay, so one thing that so I agree with you, and I would like your thoughts here. So I agree with you that Michael, I told you, so one of the first things I said to you was that Michael was less aggravating this episode than usual. So it's true. She was well written. She wasn't like hot-headed. She was deliberate. I think it was helpful that Saru was there, so they were able to kind of work through the problem together. What I did not like this at all, is that Michael was like, well, here's a solution, and I am the key to your solution. And I'm like, oh my God, again, Michael needs to be the center of everything. Like Michael needs to be not only the savior of the universe, the savior of like all biological life in the galaxy. She also needs to be the crutch of this agreement between the Federation and Navarre. And I was like, oh my God. And then when she said, oh yeah, because I'm a Federation citizen and I'm also a child of logic. I'm like, are you a child of logic? You're like the most emotional, illogical person in this show. Like, give me a break. Like, just because you grew up in Vulcan, like, do not associate yourself with logic.
Well, no, it's the piece that I think you're missing. She's a citizen of the Federation, but she's also a citizen of Navarre, and she's a member of Starfleet. So there's 3 connecting points here that
No, I think the way that she said it was like something about like she was like, I know what you're saying, but the way she positioned herself as like a child of logic, I know what you're saying.
Oh no, I remember that. Yeah, no, I know that I can hear your head exploding at the child of logic comment. Yes.
I understand what you're saying. Yes. Yeah. But of course, but it just annoyed me that again, Michael Burnham needs to be the key to the solution. And this is my main issue with this show. It goes back to the main issue. It's a trigger. Michael Burnham is the savior. Why couldn't it just be like, have a non-biased council, third party overseeing everything, but then you also need, I understand the rationale, but then of course Michael needs to be the solution. And I just hate it when Michael Burnham needs to be the solution. I don't like that. And unfortunately, this is a show. This is a show. It's constantly Michael. Like, and it's one of the things that I really dislike about Discovery, and on a fundamental level. So, yes. I mean, it probably doesn't bother you, but it bothers me a lot.
No, I mean, I understand the savior aspect of this and how frustrating that is. I agree to some extent that that's the case, but one of the things I will say is that this show is written around Michael. It has been. I do agree that she's become the linchpin of too many solutions and too many things instead of it's been a lot of times a one-person solution rather than everyone pulling together.
I wish it was more of a team solution, and we don't get enough of, like, I'm not saying it never happens, but we don't It's like, oh my God, Bryce had a suggestion on the bridge. And, like, I think that was the first episode. Like, yeah, Bryce, it's like, that's how sad it is. Like, Bryce got to speak up and suggest something that was implemented. And we were so happy about that because it's like, oh my God, someone other than someone other than Michael Burnham actually like helped and like did something, and it was just like, I just, it bothers me. It really bothers me. I'm glad at least we, sometimes we get like Tilly like having a moment in the spotlight or Saru, I guess. Saru, yes. I'm trying to think of examples. Maybe, yes. If anything, Saru operates more as a compliment to Michael rather than like him being like the hero.
Well, if you remember going back to last season, how Detmer was the solution to not getting involved with the like the Federation couldn't act on the Emerald Chain ship, but a rogue,
right. Yeah, she got her moment. Yeah, she's like barely in the season
so far. I mean, so there have been other solutions outside of Michael, but yeah, I do agree that it's it does act a lot more like sort of like the original series, where it's sort of Kirk was the solution, and then.
But I mean, didn't you at least have like more like Spock? I mean, not that I watched that much of the original series, but I always saw like, is Kirk, Scott, and Bones. Like
Kirk, Spock, and Bones. Yes, yeah. So
they were like the trio, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, so there is some precedent for this. I mean, TNG was definitely more of an ensemble cast and solution. Deep Space Nine was definitely an ensemble.
Yeah, and that's what was nice about DS9. Not to diverge from the discussion, but DS9, you had Cisco, and he was the emissary, right? Like, sure, in that case, he was literally a savior, right? He was literally a savior chosen by the gods, but it was still so well balanced as a show, where all the other characters had just their moments and their winning attributes, and they got to save the day, right?
I think with Cisco, the key characteristic about that, though, is his reluctance to be the savior, his reluctance to be the emissary. Like he doesn't...
here, where Michael needs to be the savior, wants to be the savior, and the show gives her that. The show like.
Absolutely, I'm not denying that. Yeah, I
gives her that role, you know. And I will never let that go. Like about this show, it's just one of the things that I dislike the most about Discovery. That I really can't stand. It annoys me every time it comes up. It's a trigger. It's a trigger for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that. I'm not. I can see past that a little bit more than you can, obviously, but I don't disagree with you. I think that expanding beyond that would be a good idea, and I think that it almost seems like
I want the show to expand beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely, of course, yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's what I'm getting to, is the fact that I think that this season may be the lesson in the fact that you can't be the savior. You can't save everyone. I mean, I think this brings it back right to the first episode again, where President Rillick and her go head to head. Is this idea around you can't be the savior all the time. And so,
which is funny though, because Rillick was also the one. See, that's what is also makes very little sense to me. I understand there's like, a little bit of a chess game here, but it's funny that Rillick was the one to say to her, look, you're really volatile, like you have the savior complex and you're volatile, and one of these days it's really going to burn you, and you're going to have to learn how to let things go that are out of your control. And then she puts her in the situation where, yes, there is strategy behind it. It makes sense because she, Michael does have a connection to Navarre, does have a relationship with President T'Rina. So it makes sense. But then if the Federation president couldn't trust Michael with a Starship prototype, like, why would she trust Michael with being the linchpin to, like, what might be months of negotiating with getting a planet back into, one of the founding members of the Federation back into the Federation, if she really just trusts her that much? Like, it's just like, that to me also is very odd. And like, even in the last episode, like, like maybe President Rillick is warming up to Michael, because in the last episode, like, she puts her on this mission to get the Quat-Malat. I forgot her name, but she's like, I'm counting on you. I'm like, okay. But then she also had, yes, she had a reason for putting her on that mission, particularly with Michael's relationship with Gabrielle. But still, it's kind of like, President Rillick is putting her in all the situations that allows her to kind of save the day. I don't know. It's just whatever. It's fine.
Well, no, I mean, it's a fair observation. I don't disagree with you. And, I don't, it may always be this way. It may not. Who knows? I mean, but obviously it has been this way for...
Right. It's been this way for 4 seasons. I don't anticipate it changing. So, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is what
it is. It is what it is. But, yes.
But... yes. So that was my biggest pain point about this episode, for sure, if you couldn't tell. Everything else I was happy with. I adored Tilly's storyline. I'm glad. I feel that it was resolved pretty quickly. That was a thing. Given that we were kind of introduced to her unrest in episode 1, and we found a solution in episode 4. I would have almost liked, and it was very similar with Detmer's PTSD in season 3, right? Like, it got resolved relatively fast, like relatively quickly.
Yep.
It's one of those things. Like, the thing is, like, it would be uncomfortable, but it would have been interesting to see her struggle with it for longer. Because I do think for most people, when they come to a crossroads in their lives, it takes a longer time to really figure out what is the next step. What do I do? Obviously, we don't have the luxury of, like, seeing, because some people struggle for years to kind of figure out this shit, and, this is a TV show. It needs to entertain. So we don't necessarily want to drag things on, but it would have been nice to see her struggle with it for just a little bit longer. And for her, it's not fun characterization, but for her to kind of, like, deal with this malaise, you know what I mean? Because I've gone through that, like, this malaise of, like, being kind of, like, aimless and not really quite sure what's next, and kind of really struggling with that for a longer time. Like, I think that would have been nice to see, but I understand, we kind of, move on. We don't want to spend too much time maybe on things like this, because it's not necessarily fun Tilly, right? It's like, oh, Tilly's not, we were saying it in episode 1. It's like, oh, Tilly's not like the same Tilly, something's off.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think one of the things that we don't know and don't really get to see is, star dates in the past. So we did hear a Michael captain's log for the first time at the beginning of this episode. But we don't really have a sense of how time is passing in this universe. So in this series, really, we know it's been 5 months from the season finale of season 3 to the beginning of season 4. We don't know what the time frame is through this part of this season.
No, that's fair. Sometimes it feels very like bam, bam, bam. Like, right. But that's fair. It's hard to.
Yeah, we don't really have a sense of time as much as we have in other series and other shows. So I think that there's that piece of it, but also I think that probably COVID and the way the writer's room, just the way that it's written, I think that we do have these small little arcs that they kind of weave in and out throughout the throughout the season. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Gray Adira storyline kind of wrapped up at some point in the next couple of episodes, you know, and then a new mini arc, you know, happening. So, you know, I think that's sort of where this show goes with the writers' room and how they're doing it. And they, you know, I don't know how they mind map this on a whiteboard or whatever, you know, for the season, but I guess it really depends, you know, but you know, I would imagine that at least if I were doing a show, if I were doing Discovery, I would have all the characters' names up on a whiteboard, and I would take me through 13 episodes and say, here's what's, you know, happening with this person and this person.
Journey mapping.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe they don't do it that way, or, you know, also I think, you know, COVID has changed this season significantly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a number of factors here that I think could be happening, but it is what it is. You know, each show is kind of differently written, and you know, each showrunner has their own way of doing it. So this is perhaps how Michelle Paradise runs her shows runs the show with you know, just these smaller arcs for characters, to rather than browbeating us with these decisions or these issues of PTSD or, you know, finding your purpose in life. Because the other thing too is we know that Tilly's coming back. So, you know, maybe spending 6 months teaching at the academy, she realizes, I miss being out here on the frontier again. You know, who knows? So it's, you know, things like that change, especially for someone young. You know, it's very well documented that most millennials and Generation Zs don't stay in careers or positions quite as long as previous generations have. So, you know, they're more apt to jump from ship to ship, job to job. And, you know, I think that's very endemic of a younger person. And Tilly's what, 22, 23? You know, so...
Well, who even knows what generation would Tilly be? Gamma? Like, you know, who knows at that point? But,
you know, what she represents is a you know, she's playing a 22 or 23 year old, right, that, you know, represents the generation that is 22, 23 here in our current time. But anyway, more or less. So anyway, so, you know, she could change her mind again, which is totally fair, you know.
That would be fair.
So you know, so who knows?
But her whole little plot line in this episode, yes, I like the cadets. We got some good CGI, but then some really bad CGI. Like,
ooh, what did you see that was bad CGI?
Like when Adira was trapped in the ice, and I was like, what is this? Is this the parasitic ice from season 3? I was like, I don't understand what's going on.
Okay.
But the ice effects was really bad. I don't know if you noticed. It was like she was like, they were trying to break out of the ice, and Tilly and the rest of the gang were trying to pull them out, and you can see the ice effects. It was terrible. It was really bad. It looked poorly done. I don't know. The creatures, the polysomes or something, whatever. Whatever. They were fine. It was very JJ.
Oh my gosh, I was just gonna say that. Yes. Yeah. Gosh,
Ice Planet.
Yes. Slash in the middle of New York style. You know, the creature that's in that
Cloverfield.
Thank you, Cloverfield. You know, that whole so your trigger is Michael and being the savior. My trigger is repetitive alien be like non-humanoid monsters. It's like someone has taught one class on how to create these.
Right.
Everyone has taken this one class, and they're all creating the same style monsters. Like there is this irritates the F out of me, is the lack of originality of creature creating in Star Trek, and also that you see in other movies as well. It's just not original anymore. It's all like there was one class, everyone took it, everyone's doing the same damn thing. There's only one piece of software that apparently creates these, and everyone is using it. And I find that really fucking annoying in the
so funny.
And
I was like, whatever. It's like your creature of the week. I was like, it's like,
if I see one more JJ style creature, I will just scream bloody murder.
I'm sure
I'm really over it. Like, come up with something different. I mean, at least the Baul were different. I'll give them that.
True.
The Baul were different, but you know, that being said, but most of these big alien creatures that hunt our main characters through desolate places are all the same type of creature. So anyway, that is my huge gripe about this this episode. So please, someone create a new class, a new creature class, do something. Please just create something different, for the love of God.
Yeah, it was very just like whatever, very generic.
Yeah, it is. It's just, you know, it's really lack of imagination in my mind. I don't know. I could probably get my 9-year-old, he just turned 11, sorry, my 11-year-old nephew to draw a creature that would be better and more interesting than we have seen in some of these movies. Anyway, so these creatures, this whole alien, I thought that the parasitic ice effects in episode 2 of season 3 was really well done and much better than this ice. I'm recalling now just the way that they're pulling Adira out of this ice, and just the way that the ice looks and the way that she's able to break free of it. It just doesn't look believable or real, and I agree with that. And why is it? Is it just like that one patch of ground that does that? Because then they walk around it. Not very far away.
I don't know. I don't understand why. Like, I think there was lightning. I think lightning struck the ground. But I was like, I don't understand why that's causing this ice to do this. It was very...
Okay.
It was a situation. It was basically like a situation that they need to work as a team.
Yes, it was a created situation to elicit a character development point.
Yes.
But also, one of the things that I guess was good, but I'm on the fence about it, is just Adira's independence in that scene before that happens, where they decide to go off on their own and like basically buck Tilly as the commanding officer of it. Like they storm off, and I was really surprised by that kind of play for Adira, that happening. So
right
that I felt was a little off brand for Adira. Or maybe it was just more childish and petulant. I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, that sort of does bring that lesson of working together makes it a little bit more real. But I also just don't understand the motivation for Adira to go act like that and do that. Other than unless their frustration, maybe it was their frustration with everyone sort of not getting along, and they said they'll just do it, and they storm off. I'd have to rewatch it and kind of think through that again, but I don't know. I found that characteristic of Adira's a little surprising in that scene. So anyway,
yeah, no, I noticed that too. I thought that it was a little bit out of character. But
so yeah,
anyway.
I would, the one downside, I really would have loved to see what the Armstrong was, what kind of ship it was, and see them beamed aboard the Armstrong. I know that wasn't, part of the, why spend the effects budget on that, but I still wanted to see what, another 30
We
seconds.
saw that in the last episode. Remember the inside of another ship when?
Did we?
Yeah, when what's her face went to steal the dilithium.
Oh yeah, but that
It
was
looked
sort of-
very just generic. It looked like the Discovery.
It looked like Discovery. It didn't really look, yes, and it was like in a corridor. It wasn't actually in a bridge or
Right.
like I would really love to see a 32nd century starship bridge,
Sure.
or even an engine room.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway,
maybe one day eventually.
Maybe one day. Yes. So, well, what? Any other thoughts on this episode?
No, I'm pretty sure we covered everything. I think that about does it for this episode. Yeah. Cool. So I think that also does it for this week's podcast. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about our sponsor?
Absolutely. I was just pulling up fansets.com. So Fansets is the exclusive sponsor of Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. And I'm trying to remember what came out this week. I know. Oh, there we go. There are the new releases. So we've got two more the Women of Trek pins that came out. We have Dr. Gillian Taylor and we have Janice Rand. We also still have that amazing Star Trek II Wrath of Khan Delta. There's one other thing that came out. Oh, yes, the Discovery, the holiday pin / ornament that came out. Very limited supply. So the 2021 Christmas holiday pin. So it's a Star Trek Discovery NCC 1031 wreath. And it can be both. It can be either a pin as part of your pin collection, or it also has this cute little hole that you can hang, put a string through it, and it can be a ornament. So,
ooh, well, speaking of ornaments, did you put up your Enterprise D on your tree?
I did. I took pictures of it. I have not shared them though.
Oh, I also put it up. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, when we went to the original series set tour.
Yes.
Set tour, we both got an Enterprise D ornament for our Christmas.
Lighted ornament.
Yes. From like 1991 or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to fan sets. So that is a limited supply pin. So, depending on when you're listening to this, it could be sold out. So if you are listening to this and it's still, around mid-December, definitely go check it out, pick it up, put a bunch of pins in your cart. Also, there are the Riker and Troy lower deck style micro crew pins.
All right.
So those are there's a bunch of new pins for Star Trek, and then there's a lot of other ones. They have Ultraman, DC, Scooby-Doo. Also they had a couple of other Women of Trek. They had Lieutenant Maress. And they have an Ensign Beckett Mariner one as well. So plenty of great pins to check out, all new. And if you go to Fansets, put a bunch of pins in it, and it totals more than $30 in the US, you're going to get free shipping. And which is also always nice, right? And if you use the code DS Pride, all one word, and you're going to get 10% off your order. And we want to thank John and Lou and the team at Fansets for supporting Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Thanks, Fansets. Cool. And in the meantime, we would love to hear all your thoughts on this episode and other episodes. And if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on social, on Twitter and Instagram at Deep Space Pride. And then you can also email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com. Cool. All right. Well, I think that about does it. Mike, any last words for our listeners before we sign off?
No, thanks for listening. Tilly, we hope to see you again real soon.
I hope so.
We miss you already. And, we'll be back here to talk about the next episode next week before we take a week break and happy holidays to all of our fans out there who are listening.
Yes. Happy holidays. Well, we're not there yet, so whatever.
Well, we're close. It's the holiday season.
Well, it's Hanukkah, right? Right now, is it?
Hanukkah's over. Hanukkah has ended.
Well, there it is.
But yeah, but it is the holiday season, and we hope that you're all safe.
It is the general broad season.
Yes. So happy holidays, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.